Hello and welcome to Craft with Sarah. In this video, I'm showing you how to make this adorable 3-dimensional turkey centerpiece for Thanksgiving. This is a really cute little turkey, and the best thing is it hardly requires any glue to stick it together. Most of it is put together by slotting all the pieces together with no adhesive required. This is perfect because it means it can all be disassembled at the end of the holiday season, so you can store it really easily, ready to put it out again next year. Let's get started. You can download the free cutting file for this project at craftwithsarah.com/free-svgs or follow the link in the description of this video to go straight to the download page. The download comes in a zip folder, and you need to unzip this before you can upload the files into Cricut Design Space. Once you've downloaded and unzipped the folder, it's time to get the SVG file into Cricut Design Space. Open up Design Space and start a new project, and then press Upload over on the left, and then Upload Image. You can then either click Browse to find the files on your computer, or drag and drop them in. Make sure you choose the unzipped version of the folder, and then the file to select for Cricut Design Space is the one which starts SVG in the file name. Click and drag that in, and this is what it looks like. We've got all the separate pieces on the screen. Press Upload, and then the image will appear in your recent uploads, so you can click on it to get the green border, and then press Add to Canvas. It will load in at the correct size, but there's a couple of things we need to do before this is ready to cut, and that is to add in some score lines to make it a little bit easier to make. If you don't have a scoring tool for your Cricut machine, you can delete the score lines. It will still work absolutely fine. You'll just need to be a little bit more careful when doing the folding. First, click the design to highlight everything, and then press the Ungroup button at the top of the Layers panel. And then have a little look down this Layers panel, and you can see you've got this little bit here which has an arrow next to it and 2 layers inside. As I clicked this, it highlighted this section on the design, which is one of the sides of the body that has the wing. This wing has some score lines on to make it easier to fold. If you look down here, you can see you've got the wing section, and then above there is a little layer which just looks like a few lines. When you click it, it appears green in the color box, and green layers for this design means they need to be changed to a score line. So I've got that one layer selected, and then in the Operations menu, change it to a score line. If you don't have a scoring tool, you can just delete it using the delete button up here. Now this is a score line, but I also need to tell the Cricut to do the scoring on this wing. So I'm going to click this mini group in here, and that's selected my score line and the one layer underneath, but nothing else, just these 2 layers. And then down the bottom of the Layers panel, press Attach. And that's what joins the score line on. There's another one to do, the other side of the wings. You can find it in the Layers panel, or just by clicking it on the design here. And we'll do the same thing. So click the little layer that just looks like a couple of lines. Change it to a score, and then click to select both of those layers and attach them. There's 2 more layers left to score. If you scroll down, you can see again they've got this little mini group, and it's these 2 brown sections. They're over on the right hand side of the design near the bottom. This is how we attach the beak onto the turkey. So once again, I'll click the one layer that just looks like a single line. Change it to a score, select both of the layers by clicking them, and then attach. And finally, I've got the one on the other side. So again, I'm going to go a little bit quicker now. Score, select them both, and attach. And that's all you need to do. Everything else is already set up. The lines you can see in these shapes are all cut lines, so you don't need to do any formatting with that. It's all just ready to go ahead and click Make It. And this will separate out the colours into their individual mats. If you want to change the paper size, you can do so in the drop down here. And you'll notice on some of them it will go over more than one sheet because there's quite a lot in those particular colours. If you want to move things about on the mat to take up less space, you can do that too. So go ahead, get everything cut out from cardstock, and then we'll see how to put together our cute little 3D turkey. I'm inserting this little clip here to show you a mistake I made when putting it together. So I have just pretty much recorded the whole video, and then I forgot that there was one important step, which is when you're putting the body together, one of the sections has to go in a certain place, and it's this bit with these two cutouts, because that's how the feet attach. But as you can see, my feet are not going to go at the top of my turkey, so I'm going to have to take this apart and re-record that bit. But I just wanted to let you know that if you're watching this video and you notice I've got these two little holes in the top of my turkey, yours should not look like that. So I'm not going to re-record putting all the tail together and everything, but what I am going to do now is just take this apart, which is super easy because it's all just slotted together without any glue. And then I'm going to re-record just the bit where I put the body together and make sure I do that the right way round. So yes, if you notice these little holes, ignore them. I did it wrong, but I'm gonna fix it. Once you've got all your pieces of cardstock cut out, it's time to start slotting the turkey together. I'm going to start by gluing the few bits that actually do need gluing together. And the reason for doing all of that at the start is that it gives the glue lots of time to dry whilst we're going to be working on other pieces. So the bits that need gluing are the backs of the wings, which will go inside where you've got the wing borders, the two bits of the beak, this tab, which will be stuck onto the smallest section of the tail, and then for the eyes and the cheeks, we've got some little black and red semicircles to stick behind that to cover up the eye and cheek holes. Okay, so let's start with the beak, and all we need to do, nice and easy, is glue the little yellow piece, don't think my camera's going to focus, there we go, onto the red bit. Try and line up the little cut at the top, because we need that gap here to be able to slot it onto the turkey when it's done. And then for our two little eye pieces, make sure you've got your eyes facing opposite directions. So we've got a left and a right, and then turn the bits upside down. Add a little bit of glue to the back, around the cheek and the eye holes. And then we've got these little pieces to go over them. The cheek is the circle, which is the red one. And then cover up the eye as well with the black. And these can be put to one side to dry. Again, we've got a left and a right, and then turn them upside down so that we're looking at the inside piece. And for this one, put the glue around the little edges of the wing. And that's where we'll stick that darker brown bit of card. Needle tip applicator bottles like the one I'm using are really helpful for this because there's not a lot of room to add the glue. And there's the second one. Finally, we have these pieces, and we've got the tab here. This is going to be stuck on the little flap that comes out near the top. And we need to position this bit so that the slit on the tail that's already there is on the left. And then the piece we're sticking on, you want the slit, which is about a third of the way down, to be on the right-hand side. And then glue it so that it is going to sit on there right up against where it meets the next horizontal cut line. So there's quite a lot of overlap here. If I just fold that back a bit. So we're going to glue it right up to that line over the top. Like that, and there's my slit on the right hand side. And remember, on my bottom, the slit's on the left. Okay, all of that can now dry. We want the glue to be really well dry, so whilst we're waiting, let's move on to making the body of the turkey. We've got the 3 larger circles with the bits cut out the middle and then 2 circles underneath. Make sure you choose the biggest versions of all of these. The ones for the head are quite obviously different because they've got the bit on the top, but the little circles look very similar, just they're much smaller. Make sure for the body you've got the 2 big ones. For the 3 main bits, there is a particular order to do this in. So we have 3 very slightly different shapes. The one to go first is the one where it's got this slit at the top of the bottom section. Top of the bottom, that kind of made sense. So it looks like this. You've got the slit up here and there. The second bit we'll put together is the one that's got 2 little slits at the bottom. And then the third one is the opposite way round to the first one. So the slit is along that very bottom. If I just hold these next to each other, you can see the difference. So 1, 2, 3. Let's get my number 1 and my second piece. And this is going to slot through the top hole like that. And then gently put it into place so that the slot in the bottom goes into the slot there. So you'll end up with something that crosses over. And we'll fold it flat to make it easier to put on the third piece. And this goes on the same kind of way. So we're going in the bottom of the top. It's so hard to work out what words to use. That's going to slot in there. And then this bit, again, goes through that middle so that the slots line up. And then we've got kind of this bauble shape, which will stand up by itself. All right, so this is the part where I messed up the first time I did this. Remember that little bit at the beginning where I said I messed up? This is the point where it's possible to do that. So pay attention. We've got the 2 circles to fit inside this body, and they're the same size, but there's a difference. One of them has these 2 little rectangles taken out one of the edges, and the other one does not. So it's the one that does not that we need to go at the top of the body. So I'm going to slot this in, and then all the slots along the edge of the circle need to go into the slots along the edge of our outline bit. It's a bit fiddly to start with, but once you get the first few in, it gets easier. Be very careful not to break the card when you're doing this bit. You might want to wiggle some a bit closer into position and then work on the opposite side. Move those up a little bit. And just kind of do it like that, a little bit step by step, rather than trying to force the cardstock into the wrong places. Once it's in, it should be nice and flat. And then we'll do the same with the bit at the bottom. It doesn't matter at this point which way, which side your little squares go. That will come into play when we put the edges in. That just slides in. And again, this will sit flush. Oop, I dropped it. And all the little tabs match up with the tabs on the edges. Make sure they're all in exactly where they need to go and that they are pushed down so that the two tabs are going over each other. Like that one I just missed and that one as well. They should sort of click a little bit as you get it into position. And there we go. That's the top and the bottom of that section. Right, okay, I got that last one in. I'm having to keep moving it off the camera closer to my eyes because my eyesight's not very good and this is quite a long way away from my face where my camera's set up. So yeah, I'm just having to move it a bit closer. But anyway, there we go. That is our body section. And then we're going to do the same for the head. And we want the same order for this. So the first one has the slit along this top bit there. The second one is the one that has two slits. And the third one is the one with the slit at the very, very bottom. So we'll get number 1. Slot in number 2. Fold it flat flush with itself and then slot in the third one. That's going to go all the way up and then this one goes through. Try not to bend it. And then over. And that gives us our shape that opens up into the 6 sides. And then we've got the 2 circles that go in exactly the same way. So again, these are the same size. One will go in along that top and one will go in along the bottom slits. I'm just going to pause my video to do that as it's exactly the same as what we did on this one. Now we've got the head and the body done, so we can start putting in the sides. And we'll go for the head first. So we've got our 2 little face pieces here, and then there are 4 feather pieces, and the feathers all face downwards. We'll give this a bit of a 3D effect by taking each of the bits with the feathers and just gently bend the feather upwards along where those cut lines are. That's going to make it look really realistic on the turkey. So it's not a fold as such, it's more just a little gentle bend. You'll end up with something like that. And I'll do the same for all of these bits with the feathers on. Right, now all those are done. Get your head. It doesn't matter which side you start with. I'm going to do one of the eyes first. So these pieces have all got a little slit on the top and the bottom. And these will go through the slits on the top and the bottom of each side of this section we've already done. So we'll go in the top. Make sure you get your eyes the right way around, otherwise it'll look a little bit cross-eyed. In there. Then there's a slight little bend, and it just slots in. Super clever. And then the same for the other eye. There we go. And you need to make sure each one is pushed through so that the straight little edges along the tabs come through the holes. That's just going to make sure it's really sturdy in there. And then for the rest of the head, the other 4 pieces are the same, so it doesn't matter which order you put these in. Right, there's those sections in the head. We'll come back to the beak in a little while. Next, let's add the sections to the body. And we've got a few different ones here, and this time we need to be a little bit more conscious about the order. So we've got this piece which goes in the middle, and then the bit with the kind of triangle goes at the top, and the one with the rounded edge goes at the bottom. Then we've got our 2 wings either side, and then we have the feathers which will go on the back. For the wings, we've got some score lines along here and here. So the score line that's directly next to the body, you want to fold that towards you, like so. And then the next one, fold backwards away from you. We're kind of making a little concertina effect. And that's how it's going to make the wing look really realistic and 3D against the body. And the same on this one. So we're going to fold towards and then away. I also need to fold up all of those feathers, so I'm going to go ahead and do that next. Here is my body sides to go on here, and this is again where I messed up the first time I put this together. So this is the part that's important. We've got our front section of the turkey, which is the one with these semicircles. The tab with the triangle top goes at the top, and the one with the rounded goes at the bottom. And this piece has to go on the side of the turkey that has these 2 little rectangle cutouts on. So look for the one with the rectangles along the bottom. That's where this front piece goes, and that's because the holes is for the feet of the turkey. So we'll slide that in at the top, and then the rounded bit goes at the bottom. And here's how it'll end up looking. We've got the tab through and those little cutouts either side. And then next is the wings. So we'll go in and then down, and the other side in at the top and then down through. And then we've got the feathers that go next to the wings. The feathers should all be pointed downwards, just for consistency really. Here's that one. And then one more. And then the very back section's left empty because that's where we'll attach the tail. There we are. All right, so now how yours should be looking is you've got the front section with those 2 rectangles. For the rest of this video, you'll notice mine is wrong because I recorded it wrong, and I don't want to have to do the whole tail section again. So I'm going to just show you that footage, but you'll notice my holes at the top. Just ignore that and know that yours is right because you've got those little holes at the bottom of your front section. And next we'll add the beak onto the face. And for that we've got these 2 little brown pieces and also our beak that we stuck together. And this is the last bit we'll need the glue for. These 2 pieces have a score line on them. So we've got the curve which is going to match the face, and just fold that score line out towards you. And then add some glue on the back, but don't glue the bit you've just folded. We're just gluing the curve. And then that fits against the curve of the head that sits between the 2 eye pieces. We've got one in there, and we're matching that curve. It fits perfectly. There we go. And then the other piece goes on the other side. So that's going to fold along the score. Turn it over. It's very small and a little fiddly. Glue up to that score line. And then stick this on the other side, right up to the edge, following that curve. Okay, I'm going to give that a moment to dry, and then these little flaps here, that's how we're going to stick the beak on. But we'll give that a moment. Whilst that's drying, let's take a look at the tail. There are lots of bits that make up this tail. We've got the solid yellow at the back, then the detail on top, and then the red, orange, different red, and then our front bit. And this will go together front to back. So we've got this piece here with all the cutouts. This buckle is how we thread the tail onto the body to hold it really secure. And then for this piece, I'm going to put it over the top so it lines up. And then the little tab cutouts that look like feathers on the back of the red are going to go through the holes in the layer in front. So you might want to poke them through first, just fold them down. There's 3 in total. Let's go through. It's a bit fiddly with that belt buckle. Then we get the next piece. Fold those bits forward. And again, we've got the 3 bits, and they go through the same holes all the way to the front. It probably would have made sense to glue this bit on afterwards, but never mind. So they go through the same holes so that they poke through all the way to that front layer. And I've lost that tab because it's folded itself down. I think I might actually do the rest of them first and then put it onto the front bit at the end. It'll just be a bit easier to hold it for the sake of this video. Right, those are now all slotted in together. All my slots are coming through. Now the final one can go on top. They're all in. Now we can just fold them back to sort of flatten them out a little bit. And this is all held together now. Grab your body. And we've got our back section here. Gently fold up the tabs that looks like a buckle. This bit's going to be super tricky to show on camera. It's easy to do, but hard to show, I think. All right. So I'm going to start with my bottom tab, and this is going to go through the top of the bottom hole in the body. Be careful with the little slits because it will try and catch. So I'm feeding it down through the top of there, and then it's going to go into the bottom slit, which is on the actual tail of the turkey. It's going to feed through there and just a little bit for now. Then the top bit is going to go through the bottom of the top hole of the body. So we're coming up through and then pull it, pick this up. Then that's going to pull back on itself and thread through the hole in the tail here, like that. And then we'll keep threading the top and the bottom through. Oh, my bottom one's come out. Slot it in. Keep pulling it through. And then these 2 pieces, once it's pulled tight, will slot together on those little slits. So you know when you've got it in place because those slits line up. They'll slot in with each other. and then it will sit flush. We've got a little bit of a gap, but there we go. That's really, really well attached. Our turkey stands, and he's looking almost there, but he needs his head. I think I'll add the head before putting on the beak. And we've got our bottom of the head here, and that's going to slit onto here. It takes a little bit of fiddling around, and you might need to wiggle the tail to move it so it's far enough apart. So now our head just sits in there, all nice and tight. And for his beak, make sure your two flaps are nice and horizontal. A tiny bit of glue on there. Okay. Then the beak will sit on top of that, and then the little slit at the top will just sit over the edge for a little bit of extra holding in place. Okay, I'm going to leave that way up just a moment for it to dry. Last but not least is adding our feet. And now I've taken my turkey apart again and put that little bit I messed up in the correct place. So if I turn this over, you can see those little rectangles in there. Fold your feet in half, and then they've got a little slit in the back. And these just thread in until that slit can go over the edge of the hole, and that's enough to hold them in place. I'll do the same on the other one. Just make sure they're folded in half, put it through, and just fold that slit over. And then he'll stand up beautifully, and there is a three-dimensional turkey centerpiece for Thanksgiving, all finished. I really hope you enjoyed this video, even with my slight mistakes throughout, but at least you now know what not to do. If you did like this design and how it goes together, please let me know in the comments. This is something a little bit new that I'm trying, but if lots of you like the turkey, then I'm sure there are other things you could think of. Maybe a snowman or a penguin, a Father Christmas, something like that. So drop your ideas in the comments if you'd like to see other things like this. And I will also be releasing a series of Christmas ornaments. That's basically just like the body of the turkey. And they'll hang up with different Christmas patterns in. They're not quite finished yet, but they'll be out very soon. But for now, our turkey's done. I love him. He's so cute. And thank you so much for watching. Bye!